Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Beauty Debate. I'm so excited to talk about today's topic. We're going to talk about how to reclaim our identity after a big life change or a loss in particular. And I know the channel is called Beauty Debate, and I know we talk about fashion usually, but there is beauty within our transformation as who we are, because our identity is so important. Even in the way that I talk about fashion or styling to anyone, the main point that we get down to is the identity. Who do they want to be? Who do they think they are now? And how do they want to change themselves? I think we're a bit more familiar in updating and making changes to our identity as we change, but I think we're not as experienced in holding on to our current identity because we never think that we will lose it, right? So it catches us in moments where we least expect it, and it can literally throw you into depression. It's one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to talk about it today. Our identity is so important to who we are. It's literally how we show up in this world. We think of ourselves a certain way without even realizing, and that's, what feeds our confidence in how we show up in the world, or what we think we can get, or how we respond to situations. That identity is so core. It's like the foundation of a building. It's the core of everything. And it's really natural to sometimes tie our identities to the things that we have. That can be money, that can be, a relationship, it can be a certain friendship group, it can be your job title, it can be things that are so engraved in you that you've, either worked really hard to get, or it's always been with you and it's just become a massive part of your experience in this world. It can even be your family. It can be any kind of relationship or possession that you're thinking about. And we identify with those things though. Let's say you've been in a relationship for 5 years. It becomes a core part of your identity, that relationship. I'm not saying you lost yourself in the relationship, but you can still fall into the trap of forgetting who you truly are, or forgetting to feed a separate version of you in that relationship. And it's really easy to identify with these things that I counted before. But I want to start off by saying anything that you have or anything that can be taken away from you, you can never identify with those things. Those are not your identity, because your identity is one of the things that are literally the most unique thing about you. How can it be affected by external circumstances? Anything that you can lose is not a solid ground for you to base your identity on, but it's really easy to identify with them because it's a part of the way that we show up in this world. We say, oh, I'm this age, I look like this, I'm from this ethnicity, I do this job, I have a partner, I have kids. We identify. Even when we communicate with people, it's one of the first things that we bring across, and we think we identify with that. Your identity is things that can never be taken away from you. Your identity are your values and the way that you lead your life, absolutely stripped away from any external circumstance. Your identity is the way that you respond to a situation. It's the way that you do things. It's the things that you enjoy. It's the things that bring you joy or bring you pain. It's your fears. It's your desires, those things that are to do with you. I can't say that, I'm fashionable and I'm a stylist and say that's my identity, because the world can end and I can lose, the ability to buy clothes, or I can completely lose my job, or I might have to go into something completely different. I can identify with the fact that I enjoy playing with clothes. I enjoy playing with style. I enjoy being creative. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy, it's not only things that you enjoy, but those things can never be taken away from me. Or for example, the way that you get through problems, the way that you communicate through hardship, or the way you show kindness, or the way you hold yourself back in certain situations. Those are the moments and the things that genuinely define you, because you have curated them over time. You have built them up. It is a part of your life experience, and it is the only thing that can never be penetrated by anything else. The fact that you are an honest person, that can never be changed by anyone else. Those are the things that you can safely identify with, and you don't have to worry about anyone affecting that. But that's obviously not what happens. Even myself, I'm definitely realizing that I was identifying with things that were a lot more external, because we all go through this. We all go through this where we identify with something, we pour so much effort, energy into it. We think it's worthy enough to show up with it in this world, as if, it's like a thing that we put on our identity board, and that's the way we show up in the world, and that's how much we value it. It's like a part of us, and we can lose it at any moment. And I'm accepting the fact that we will lose many things outside of our control. And after that loss, how do you get back to yourself? How do you get back to a version of you that's stable, a version of you that doesn't long for what it lost and can actually move on in a secure way? One of the things that stop you from maybe accepting certain losses in your life or accepting, changes in your life isn't just the fact that you're not over that thing. That thing was a part of you and now that's empty. What do you put instead of it? What do you put in that place? How can you move on fully without actually having been able to redefine yourself and be complete before you confidently go out into the world? So your identity is very much tied to any problem that you go through in life, because it's literally your identity. It's so self-explanatory, and I feel a bit silly almost over-explaining it, but I want to make the distinction between what we think our identity is and what it actually could be. And I want to make it clear that creating a solid identity is really, really important. So when we lose something, as I said, it could be your job, it could be your relationship, it could be a friendship. It's really hard to detach from the version of you who was in that situation. And it's so hard to rebuild because we don't know what we even lost. It might be a job or it might be a relationship. You gradually settle in that and it gradually becomes a secure part of your life and it becomes a permanent part of your life. And you don't go into it expecting it to end. You don't go into it expecting to lose it, right? So what happens is you don't even know what you lost. You don't even fully remember what you were before, or you don't even remember your values because maybe you exchanged some of your values or some priorities have changed. It's just so hard to remember, what am I even trying to get back into? What am I even trying to fully, remember within myself? It's really, really difficult. It's possible to rebuild. It's possible to detach from these things or these problems, but there are a lot of things in the way. What happens is you either blame yourself or you blame someone else for that loss, or you don't blame anyone, but you try to overly analyze it. You try to overanalyze it and fully understand the situation so that you can build mechanisms that would stop you from going through any kind of loss like that again. So you try to learn from the issue, which can be a good thing, but you do it to such an extent that, it's basically you trying to create security for yourself. It can become really obsessive. So number one, blaming yourself. It's one of the easiest things to do, to blame yourself, especially if you have any tendency for people pleasing or anxious attachment styles. At the end of the day, you're going to find something to blame. And the reason why we try to find something to blame is because if we can blame something, it will make sense. It will make us feel like we can avoid this happening in the future because it was someone's fault. It was someone's defect, or it was a defective situation. It can be avoided in the future. And, we can point that finger at us sometimes and we can say, well, I chose this, I chose to rely on this thing that lost me, or I chose to be a certain way that made me lose this thing. So I need to blame myself in this experience. And you make yourself think, why didn't I prepare for this before? Or did I trust that it was going to be okay? Or why did I not think about losing this before and prepare myself? You need to realize that it's actually more weird and more unhealthy for you to be overly suspicious of a situation and not fully embed yourself in it and think that because you might lose it, you should never fully rely on it in the first place. I'm not saying be codependent, but in the case of a relationship, for example, if you go in with so much suspicion that, I might lose this, or this might happen to me, and I'm going to, stay back and I'm not going to let it fully consume me. Again, I'm excluding that codependency sort of dynamic or that extreme anxious attachment dynamic. But I'm basically trying to say, if you do that at the beginning, that's the most avoidant and scared thing that you can do. By seeing this thing as safe enough and by letting yourself be vulnerable in the situation and again, embedding yourself in it, you have made a correct judgment. You have made a correct decision to experience this thing that you were supposed to experience, first of all. And secondly, if you had stayed away from this, it wouldn't save you from experiencing this again, because you need to realize that's the version of you that led you to here. Being avoidant of experiences doesn't actually protect you. It just creates a false illusion that you're safe, but you haven't experienced anything. You spent your life running away from things. Even though you think you should have done something different, this situation still led you to this point. So there's actually nothing you could have done in that current version of yourself to prevent this from happening, because this is where the timeline has led you and you weren't who you are today, who knows this exact thing right now. So it's still technically out of your control. And let's say you stop blaming yourself and now you start blaming another person or another situation. Let's say you were fired and you are blaming the person who caused this, and let's say someone, left you, or someone betrayed you, someone went behind your back, or someone lied to you. You blame that person. It makes you make sense of the situation. It's completely normal to find blame or to try and find a reason. I'm not saying that you should, accept these things and it's very normal and you shouldn't be sad about them. I'm talking about after you've processed all that sadness, and now it's time to build your identity. You're still stuck thinking about, why did they do this? How did this happen to me? Why me? Why did it happen? That kind of victim mentality that is very common, again, because we are often taught that we're very powerless, and the only way to still feel in control is to think of ourselves as a victim. And that's what, again, makes us stuck in these situations. Blame someone else, you're taking your own power away from the situation, and you're trying to bring justice into the situation and see how this can be rectified. This is, again, your need for control. It's about trying to understand the situation enough, trying to blame that person enough, go after them, seek revenge, whatever it is. You try to see the situation as something that truly broke you because you are so tied to that version of yourself that you will do anything to try and get it back. That's stopping you from reestablishing an identity, because whether you blame others or you blame yourself, you think that there's a roadblock and there is no light on the other side. That's the incorrect thing that I want you to focus on. Every single experience is making your brain be wired in a different way. You're solving problems every single day. You are learning to live, even though it's hurting so much right now, you are learning to live through every single situation. And it's probably improving your intelligence. It's improving your pattern recognition. It's improving your resilience. It's making you become a person who has now lived through this. And even though you can't feel it in the moment, you don't know how resilient that has actually made you and how much light there is on the other side of the situation, because that version of you has gone through everything and has recovered, and you don't know what is even waiting for you on the other side. I don't want you to blame yourself or blame others and give the power away from yourself. Let's say we are done with blaming and we accept that it wasn't our fault, we accept that it wasn't another person's fault, but we still want to understand what the hell is going on. Like, what is the reason why this happened? Okay, it wasn't them, it wasn't me. I'm human, they're human, people are flawed. I understand that, but what can we actually do to not experience this again? I think I'm a pro at this in the worst way possible. I will try to understand every single situation in so much depth, and I will think that it is for the better that I am trying to understand the situation. I will think that it is making me a better person, or it's making me more experienced, and it's making me more knowledgeable. In reality, I am just genuinely ruminating. I'm just feeling like this situation has made me feel so unsafe and so uncomfortable that I genuinely need to do whatever I can to solve this and get to the bottom of it and identify exactly where things went wrong, because I can't sit with this pain, or I can't sit with this discomfort and this change. And I need to identify exactly what caused this change so I can avoid it for the rest of my life. This is a form of avoidance. It's a form of trying to gain control because you think that life is not safe without control. I think sometimes the more we understand, how we can use therapy to better our life or understand people, we also fall into the illusion that we can use our understanding to prevent situations and control exactly where our lives lead us, which is a false belief, because there is so much in this world that is out of your control. You can never fully control everything that happens. And the way you live through controlling everything, controlling all the factors and never facing the same problem again, you are living in a state of anxiety and fear all the time. What happens is you think, okay, if I lose control, I'm going to have a bad life, so I should gain control. But when you are trying to hold on to this idea of the world where it's so dangerous and it's so uncomfortable and you have to hold on to the control all the time, the reason why I want you to change it is because you're already seeing life in a really shitty way. Like, you're already seeing life through such a negative lens, and you think that as soon as you let go of control, bad things are going to happen to you. Like, if you knew everything was going to work out for the absolute best way possible beyond what you can imagine, would you even steer the wheel still? I personally wouldn't, because I'd be like, I don't want to touch it and ruin it because I know what is best is coming. But I don't know that, because my anxiety is always telling me that the world is a very scary place and it's always going to be terrible, and I have to do everything I can to control the course of events. And this is something that's hurting me. I think that it's something that's probably hurt you in the past as well. There are very good reasons for you to let go of that control and live in alignment with whatever is happening to you and accept these situations. These big losses in our life are the things that highlight these fears. It highlights your anxiety about life. It highlights your fear of losing someone or losing something or losing yourself. And the thing is, you're lost. Because you lost it now, it makes you see the world as one of the most unpredictable places ever, which activates your survival mechanism to such a level that you genuinely sometimes freeze and you question everything. Through this loss, you realize all the things that you value and all the things that you don't have anymore. It's a very big shock. it's really normal to try and regain control by redefining the situation, understanding the situation, and never encountering it again, because now you will avoid that thing that you notice is the problem. Coming back to your identity doesn't need to be a defense mechanism. It doesn't need to be a protective shield. It doesn't have to be something that always stops you from experiencing hardship, because it has other purposes. That's not the reality of life. That would be a really insufficient, ineffective way to use up your identity and, let it lead you through life, when it's not always bad things that happen, because our brain always does pick up more on negative situations, remembers more negative memories, and these are all scientifically proven. When it comes to how to actually reclaim your identity and re-establish a sense of you that feels secure, that feels familiar, and that feels good, you need to create new experiences. This is one of the most important things in getting over anything and anyone and any situation. Your past experiences are in your memories, okay? And I want you to use your brain to your advantage and create new neural pathways. And what are neural pathways? I'm going to read it from Google because I just looked it up. Neural pathways are the communication routes between neurons in the brain and spinal cord formed by chains of connected axons. I don't know what the axons are, but basically it is almost the way that your brain creates the thoughts. What you can do is you can create new neural pathways, which creates new links between stimulants and the thoughts and the feelings that you have. So if you go to a certain place all the time, or if you experience life the same way as you have, if you continue to live the exact same life that you were living when you had that thing that you now lost and that you grieve and you are struggling to get over, the neural pathways in your brain always take you to the same place. So you always remember the same feelings and you experience the same stimulants basically, and it creates similar feelings or thoughts in your brain. But you don't have that thing anymore, and you constantly get reminded of the past, and you get reminded of those past experiences or emotions, and you feel stuck in that version of yourself. You feel stuck in that loss, because you can't get out of it. Like you physically can't get out of it. It's in your brain. Your brain sees a certain color and it goes straight to that, because they are linked. Like it chooses the shortest path and it creates patterns, and it tries to bring you the next piece of information. And when you live life exactly the same way, you're going to get the same information, and you're going to feel stuck in that, and you're going to keep grieving, and you're going to keep having very, very negative emotions. So your neural pathways need to be renewed. And the best thing about our brain is that they can be renewed. So I'm just going to, again, read. New neural pathways are created through a process called neuroplasticity, which is the fact that our brain is actually like moldable. And I really appreciate that, which is the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new connections and strengthening existing ones. This, again, proves my point that you need to not do what you're already doing, and you need to create new experiences for yourself, because if you do the old things, it's going to strengthen existing neural pathways in your brain. And that's what I don't want to happen, because it's going to stop you from moving on from any situation. It's going to stop you from re-identifying yourself and changing things about yourself and feel like a new person, because all you're doing every time you think about the situation is you are strengthening those neural pathways, and your brain is going to give you the same thing all the time. By creating new experiences, for example, that can be, reading things, learning something new, learning a skill, doing a hobby, finding new friends, finding, new hobbies, like, changing jobs. I don't know what it is. There's so many things that you can do that create new memories in your life. I might attach like a list of, new experiences that you can do. When you create new experiences, you're going to have new neural connections, and they're going to tell you new things. You're going to create new experiences. And one by one, you're going to get rid of the old beliefs. You're going to get rid of the old kind of thinking. You're going to get rid of the reliance you had on your old emotions and your old experiences for dopamine and all the positive emotions, basically. And the best thing about taking control like this is because it proves to you that you weren't actually broken through this process by losing that massive thing. Again, like the reason why I want to relate it to a relationship is because it's one of the most core things to a person. If you lose a 4, 5, 6 year relationship, it genuinely, or even like 1, 2 years, it can shake you to your core. And it shows you that you weren't actually broken, but your past identity was broken. The past ways that you used to identify yourself were broken. Whatever it was that you were attached to, it was validating a part of you. And now that you lost that, it feels like you lost that validation, and you fully question, who even am I? Am I even loved? Am I even valuable? Am I even capable? You basically question yourself so much, but at the end of the day, it wasn't even you that were broken. It wasn't even you that was shattered. It was that part of your identity But that doesn't even have to be your identity anymore. You can fully detach from this because it was never actually your identity in the first place. It was something that you practiced. It was something that you experienced and you gave room in your life and you gave energy to, but it's not you. Like, you are so much more unique and unshakable and completely different. Your identity already exists in a certain way, and it's showing up in the way that you deal with this. It's showing up in the way that you choose to see the situation. And your identity is so malleable. You can change it so much. It's not easy, but it's so possible. Whatever it is that has happened, you are still whole. My dog just invaded my room. At the end of the day, you are still whole. Nothing has changed. You have lived through these experiences and it has now led you to another version of yourself. And you might want to go back to the old version of yourself who didn't experience these things yet, like who had no problem. Maybe they were, feeling so much luckier. They were feeling so much more rewarded through life. They hadn't lost that thing yet. They hadn't attached and lost a massive part of their identity. You can't rely on the fact that if you did one thing differently, that version of you would have never experienced any of this. The thing is, they are the one who led you to this moment. That old version of you is who led you to this exact moment. Like, that would have never been different in any shape or form. And there's nothing wrong with that person. There's nothing wrong with that version of you, but it has led you to this moment. And this is exactly where you're supposed to be. You can't get back to that person, nor should you get back to that person, because it is out of the picture. It has done its job. Sometimes after a certain amount of time, what can happen is that loss and that pain can become a symbol to hold on to and to keep hurting about, to avoid some other things. There are some good news in this, because you're probably not even as upset about that specific thing anymore after a certain amount of time. But there are other things that you maybe don't feel content with in your life. And this loss, because it was big enough and it was a big enough disruptor in your life, you feel like it's the right thing to attach yourself to and avoid the rest of the problems that are going on. I want to give an example about this. Sometimes I still get scared at night, like in the dark, like when it's really dark and I hear things on the roof and I get really scared. So what I do is I pull the sheets over my head. And it's not actually protecting me. Like, I know logically that pulling the sheet over myself is not going to protect me from whatever I am scared of. But I do it anyway because it creates a sense of safety. And it's completely wrong. Like, I know that it's completely wrong. And when I'm under the sheets, it completely blocks my view, right? And by blocking my view, I'm avoiding seeing any things that are actually scary. But technically, if those things are scary and I want to protect myself from them, wouldn't it be better to have a better field of vision to protect myself? But I'm not ready to face it. I'm not ready to see some crazy thing. So I pull myself under the sheets thinking that it's going to protect me. Even though I know it's not going to protect me, I still do that. Because sometimes we can't dare look at some corners of our lives and accept our discontentment with them or accept our problems with them or whatever they might be. Like, basically, when you're thinking about that one thing that happened, that one thing that you lost, that you just can't seem to get over, it might be something that you're holding on to and it's like the act of pulling the sheets over your head so you don't see the other problems. Because what happens is, if you do get over this, you're going to feel like you have a responsibility now to look at all these other things in your life because you're healed enough. You're actually not a victimized person and you have gotten over the things that were upsetting you. So now you have, maybe you have an expectation of looking at these things. You don't have to hold on to what happened in the past or what has hurt you in the past to give yourself permission to grieve about anything in your life. Like, you don't need to hold on to that to avoid other things. You will face these things when you're ready, but you don't need to feel sad about another thing to stop yourself from feeling guilty for not having everything else in your life figured out, because those things will also come with time. And letting go of this thing and starting to live freely again might be the catalyst in getting all of this done. So I want you to not pull the sheets. I want you to focus on the other parts of your life, which these new experiences that I talked about will bring you to. I want you to stop holding on to whatever has happened, whatever you have lost, and stop it from controlling you currently, because it is not healing you in any way. It's basically holding you prisoner to this situation, but you're choosing to actually be the prisoner in that case. You're choosing to attach to this because it's still more known, because even grieving something painful is still more known than all the other untouched parts of your life or all the future things that might come in your life. It just still feels more safe. Like, that's how much our brain loves safety and how much it loves predictability. It just doesn't want anything that we don't know how to protect ourselves against. But we need to stop thinking that what's out there and what's in the future are things that we need to protect ourselves from in the first place. they might be very, very positive things. They might be amazing things. So we just have to believe in that. And when you are free from all of this arc is what creates your new identity. These experiences, your resilience that comes from this, your courageousness that comes from this, your way of exploring new hobbies, your way of exploring life in a different way comes into your identity. And every time that you do a new hobby, every time you meet a new friend, every time you deliberately make a different turn in your life, these are all parts of your identity. And please, during this time, create achievable goals for yourself, because there's a lot of things that I talked about. But if you create massive goals and you fail, that's going to make you hold on to your pain even more, because at the end of the day, it's still more predictable. When you're able to have these new experiences and you're starting to slowly like blossom and flourish and feel great about yourself again, you can be more intentional about actually identifying yourself and basically building it brick by brick. You can start journaling about those pillars of identity that you want to have for yourself. It can be, how you present yourself to the world, how you react to situations, what your boundaries are, what things you like, what things you don't like, what's your biggest fear, what's your biggest goal, like all these things that have something to do with you. And when you identify something and it still links to someone else, or it can be disrupted by someone else, simplify it even more for it to be just to do with you, for it to only have the essence of you and nothing else. That time, one of the most beautiful things and the rewarding things I think you can do is documenting your process. If you document your identity shift and you document those moments of, happiness or pain or hardship, whatever it is, it's gonna be your story. Like, you can treat it as like, I'm writing a book about myself. I'm writing my own thesis about my own life. Or you can journal about your good experiences, your bad experiences, your future goals, or you're reflecting on your past, whatever it is. Like, it's such a massive tool, and I use it all the time. But documenting things is basically honoring yourself so much to feel like you're worthy of being documented through this experience. You're worthy of being written down about. It's like a way of honoring yourself so much that you feel like these are worth recording. These are worth writing down, keeping somewhere, because it's a story of my life, and it's a story of how I'm changing. As a kid, you would take videos of them walking for the first time. You would keep all their first paintings. You are the same. You are rebuilding yourself. The old version of you is low-key dead, and you are creating a new one, and it's so worth recording and taking care and feeling really proud of. I'm so proud of you for being able to change. I'm so proud of you for putting yourself in situations that will lead to change, that will lead to pain or lead to loss, because you are brave enough and loving enough and amazing enough to consider having that thing in the first place, because you weren't avoiding a possible slap in your face by losing something you don't want to, and you didn't run away from it. You were so much braver than anyone who runs away from possibly good situations because they don't want to face the idea of losing it. You are so strong for doing that. And whatever it is that you lost, it has added you so much, and it's not fully lost. It's still with you in your memories, and it's with you in your identity, and you can extract them out of your identity and, make it visible so you know that what you lived through wasn't for nothing. I hope this was useful, guys. I love you all. Can't wait to see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening, and take care. Mwah.